Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Emily Sophia, and I'm going to be walking you guys through the wonderland that is the Season 2 premiere of NBC's Hannibal. So, before we dive into, or shall I say, embrace the madness, I'll go ahead and walk through a few aspects of my channel for those of you who might not know me. So, I did review most of the episodes from the first season of the show, so if you want to kind of, backpedal a wee bit and stroll down the delightful memory lane that this show has to offer, then you can do so by checking out my Hannibal playlist in the description or annotation here. I also review The Walking Dead. I will be reviewing Bates Motel, which premieres this upcoming Monday, depending on when you're watching this, and so many other shows that I'm catching up on as well. I also do music and other fun shenanigans, so that's just kind of a little taste of who I am, but let's get a taste of what this premiere was all about, and there will be plenty of spoilers, so go forth and continue watching if you're ready for that business, but if not, or if you've never even seen the show, I will put it for you in the words of the hosts of a children's television program called The Upside Down Show. This is a series that is equal parts delicious, delectable, and delightful. But not in the ways that you would perhaps morally desire. But that's what makes it so fun. So, alright, let's get to it. So, I missed this show with all my heart, soul, and mind. And this is pretty much what I have been bracing every fiber of my being for since I was born. And I was born a year ago, if we're using those standards, okay? It is a stunningly gorgeous show just to watch, to listen to be in. I forgot, like, how crazy immersive this show is, because I mean there's a lot of shows that I watch and I love on different levels, but Hannibal's just one that it sucks you in. It's kind of like the problem that Will Graham is facing with the whole not being able to get Hannibal out of his head. We're stuck in Hannibal's head. We are seated in these fascinating characters, in all the interactions in these sort of crazy intricate chess games composed of 20 million pieces that all have a slightly different role, and and little do you know that even though you're trying to make your moves as carefully as possible, there is a certain friendly neighborhood cannibal who is probably pulling any and every possible string. So what I loved about this episode was its subtleties at times, at others quite the opposite of subtlety. I mean, being that we sort of began with one of the more intense fight scenes that I have ever witnessed in the television sphere, kicking it off fresh, and then of course right after that business, we get the little, 12 weeks prior, so we know that this is the trajectory. This is where things are going, and as much as we will desire for the chase to ensue, or for the mystery of Hannibal's person to remain that beautifully pocketed little mystery, it looks as if some people are gonna, catch on, and Hannibal has a way of dealing with those suspicions, and it involves knives and bloody t-shirts, a little bit of flinging around, a little didgeridoo, and it's a good time. I mean, props beyond belief to Mads Mikkelsen and Lawrence Fishburne for that intensity. It was a beautifully sequenced dance of death, if you will, and I think the odds are fairly stacked against our dear Captain Jack, but I don't know, man. They're both very capable in their own ways, and there's a certain rage on Jack's part to be sure. If we are to assume that he knows all. I mean, and when it comes to that moment of confrontation, what are you gonna do? You're gonna act a fool, bust a move, do what you can to to confront the devil himself. It's Oh yeah, it was a great scene. I watched it when NBC posted it a few days prior to the premiere because I could not help myself, and pretty much all of the previews that they had given up to this point were suggesting that things are hitting the fan with everyone on every possible level. Nobody is exempt from the creeping awareness, if not revelation, that the guy who throws all the lavish parties and whose comestibles they've been consuming is slightly more than your average sociopathic dude. It's exciting, it's thrilling, and I mean, for some people there's a sense of like, oh, like it kind of feels spoilery, but I like this sort of inverted storyline because again, we are going to be, we have this at the beginning, and then we're going to have a completely different view of everything, of the emotional intensity and everything that's transpired by the time that we see this scene again. And the question is, are we going to see it again? Or is it just going to pick up from the part where Jack is trapped in the wine cellar with his neck busting open and Hannibal's going in for the kill? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that they could do this, and I think it's very creative. There's not a part of this show that bores. Not a single piece. And I definitely look forward to interacting with the rest of the Hannibal fan community, which is especially active and wild on Tumblr. So for those of you who are not bloggers, I suggest that if you like Hannibal, you should get up on that, because it is a fun universe. We are the happiest, perkiest, puppiest, and rainbow-iest fan community that you will ever know. I can tell you that. It's a place of many wonders. So let's go ahead and break down all the other character interactions and all the different moving pieces, of which there are many. So we got the fight scene. We take it back a notch. We see Hannibal getting to be in this place where he gets to, you know, relish in the opportunity to be Will Graham, and just every time that Hannibal says a single thing about, oh, I miss Will, I get to be Will, and this whole, you know, it's always in his communications, you know, his little therapy sessions with Bedelia, who he has screwed over in a mighty fine way with the whole, like, oh, you can share all about, you know, our little sessions, except for none of it. And just the way that, that Gillian, is that how you pronounce her name? I feel like I should know this. She's been in so many fantastic things, but the way that she plays Bedelia, especially in this episode, is really powerful to me, because again, it's been this whole chess game with Hannibal the entire time. And I mean, I wondered, based on the finale of the last season, if she knew Earthang, which I thought, you know, it's distinctly possible that she might, but I think Hannibal has her just where he wants her, and that's how all the people in his little world are, you know. They're all in his little snow globe, and he just kind of, he shakes it up, but then at the same time he's kind of got this like telepathic, telekinetic power to, you know, in the midst of the shaking, he makes sure that all the pieces fall precisely where he wants, and his masterpiece, or his design, if you will. I wonder if that phrase is going to come back up in this season. I don't know. There's fun dialogues yet to be had, but, you know, she's played everything so subtly, and there's so much innuendo, and just, you know, every conversation is pregnant with this, you know, the whole cover being blown open. And yet, you know, I think that she knows that he is capable of something, but I mean, at the very least, I don't know. Again, there's just so many intricacies in their interactions that fascinate me and infuriate me at the same time, with the way that Hannibal can say whatever he wants, and he can say that Bedelia can say whatever she wants, but no, we know that pretty much everyone in his life, everyone who he's got his hands on, they're his mouthpiece. And they speak his words, and they preach his message, and there just ain't a thing that can be done. However, I'm very excited, based on what we saw in the preview for next week as well, where it looks as if Bedelia is getting ready to team up with Squilliam, which I'm really excited about. I will warn you that Will Graham, he has acquired a few nicknames from me, which I bestowed upon him in order to alleviate his stress. Namely, Squilliam and, you know, Graham Cracker. Things of that nature. That's how I form my bonds and how I connect with the characters who I want to save, but there's nothing I can do sitting in my chair rocking back and forth in the fetal positions. So I do what I can to make myself feel better and to imagine that I am, you know, a source of peace and light, which our dear Will needs. And we could see in this episode that he's gaining clarity. You know, he's making that climb at Mount Everest, and he's going with whatever he's got. And it sucks that Jack has absolutely no faith in him, and Frederick has absolutely no faith in him, but there is that beacon of light, which is Alana Bloom. And I will confess that the scene where she's out romping with the puppies, there were tears, there was a glassiness in my eyes stemming from the fire of wanting everything to be okay in my soul. It was pretty intense at that moment. I was just like, oh my god. And then of course with Winston constantly running away and returning to Will's house, and just all that symbolism and puppy love, and oh, I can't do it. I want it all to be okay, and yet I don't know. It's exciting because this is the kind of show in which mountains can be moved, and I don't know. So anyways, getting back to Alana and Will. So she believes that Will committed these acts in a compromised state. And so in the sense, there's a part of her that still has faith in Will, and the Will that she sees sitting before her, and the Will recovering, and he's convinced that all the fiddlings are in his mind, and that he can trace everything back. And it's going to be a really fascinating and probably very artistic process to watch this go down for Will as he tries to dig it all up. And I mean, I think he's going to have a lot of help from Bedelia. Well, I say a lot, but they're going to have to be operating in the shadows of the shadows, or something, wherever it is that Hannibal can't be, but he has this kind of omniscient ways. So I'm really excited to see how he maneuvers his brain, and I think it was really interesting how every time he was in like the therapy cage at the asylum, how he was always, you know, like gone fishing in his mind, and just all the things that kept like penetrating that space, which and I saw Brian Fuller tweet about this as well, that place, you know, that river he's in is his memory. So when you see the little Wendigo popping up and saying hey, and then you have like Jack Crawford yelling at him from the side of the river, and just all the different elements, again, it's the iconography in this show is off the charts. And I think that's part of what has made it so so beguiling, and it's something you can just really sink your teeth into, because there's all these images and ideas and things that are just so consistent throughout. And I'm an English major, I apologize, I could totally go off into the tangent of the metaphors and the symbolism, but I'll try and spare you all of that craziness, because I know that it gets a little into the ethereal realm, and I can't even stop using big words. I don't know anything besides, like, I am a hopeless dictionary of a human being, and I apologize for spewing that at you. But anyway, so as ever, my sympathies lie most deeply with Will, and his tenacity is something that I really cling to. And again, like with the previews, there was a lot of lines from this episode that I was already familiar with coming into it, like, you know, the whole "there will be a reckoning," and I think that sounds like the title of an awesome metal song. Like, he needs to, you know, find some prison pals and make a band and just do some hardcore death metal. And, you know, I could hear it. I can see it. I like it. I think he's got the energy. But, yeah, and we also get to see, you know, we get to kind of see the whole gang in this episode, and Beverly with Hannibal kind of like, you know, crouching upon her space, and then later she goes to visit Will, and, you know, even though Hannibal gets you know, he takes pleasure in saying that he gets to be the new Will Graham, you know, Beverly is still coming to Will Graham when he's in prison and letting him be Will Graham and kind of look at this crazy case with the the crime that we're focusing on, and I'm guessing at least, you know, this episode and maybe the next one or maybe two, but it seems like the bigger crimes in the show have like a double episode arc, but I don't know. Anyways, what was I saying? It reminded me of something that I saw on a different TV show, except on like a way freaking bigger scale, because that is how Hannibal does. Like, and there is no other show that I watch that I enjoy that has these moments that are just beyond gag worthy, where you just want to like temporarily detach your head from the rest of your body and just kind of, you know, put it away, put it back on, re-engage. The part where of course, the dinner scene for Will, we all knew was going to go horrifically wrong in some way, whether it was in his head or what have you, and the whole tube in the ear, and just the cinematography of the show, it's invasive. You're like going inside of Will's body, and then the scene where they're taking, you know, they're getting DNA samples from Hannibal, and like, you know, the swab inside the cheek, and like, and I feel like that too, just the way they film the show is really symbolic. It's, you know, just the visceral nature of the show. We're dealing with bodies. We're dealing with them being eaten and consumed and weird things happening, and it just kind of undermines your sense of like normal life, where people are just in their spaces, not like consuming each other in weird ways. That sounded strange, but anyways, yeah, so I mean, I just found that really interesting, because so much of that was emphasized in this episode, and so many of Will's like kind of dream sequences, and, you know, the memories that he's trying to conjure up too, including that whole like crazy feast in hell thing where he's chilling with the Wendigo at the table overflowing with life and death and things edible and very much not, unless you don't exactly have the moral compass that everybody else in society does. Yeah, and I mean, I was trying to like break down everything I saw on that table, but it was just so overflowing, and that is just Will's mind and what he's capable of. Just, and that's what makes it exciting. This whole, he's exploring his memories to find the truth, and we know that, I mean, it's just so complex. Like, I can't even talk about it without things getting really weird and convoluted, but you guys know what we're seeing here, and there's just a lot of fascinating pieces in motion. And yeah, so I mean, what do you guys think? If you're allowing yourselves to think in the midst of all this darkness and despair and the macabre, I really like where this season is going. I enjoy watching this show because while I am utterly disgusted, I am also perpetually in awe, and also making lots of terrible jokes to myself just to feel better about everything that I have to watch. And, oh, I missed the cast, and they did a masterful job. And I also loved, one of my favorite scenes in the episode was where Alana was kind of doing this memory retrieval exercise. Alana and Will were doing that together, and when Alana becomes like darkness personified and like turns into like this black storm and crashes over him like a wave, It reminds me a lot of last season, how there's a lot of those like water motifs going on, you know? And that was of course what led into the feast sequence, and then the recurring, the ear just will not disappear. That was just super masterfully done, and again, it's the stuff that's slightly horrific, but you're like, wow, just on an artistic level, it's pretty top notch. They had like, once the show's done, they should have like a museum of just the images and everything they use, because I mean, I love that the cast of the show is really transparent about that stuff, you know, like while the episode's going, they're tweeting all the behind the scenes pictures, and they're like, you guys, I mean, they're proud of what they've done. Like if I was working on that show, I think I'd be a little, you know, I think I'd be a little high and mighty about it, because they have lots to boast about, but man, oh man, so I love this episode. I am thrilled as ever and ready for the tumultuous ride, and I hope that you guys are too, and that you'll stick around on my channel for my reviews about it, because I am here for you and I want to take you through every step of the way. So let me know what you guys thought about the episode. What did you like? What got you excited, or excited your sense of disgust, because that's typically how this stuff works out, and also what you think about the preview too. I figured that most of you guys probably watched that because they kind of append them like right on to the very end, so kind of hard to miss, kind of hard to resist. The show is addictive that way, but we gotta get Will Graham out, people. It's gonna happen through our love and the positive vibes, so start producing those, you guys. Our collective telepathic effort is gonna make this happen. So, and if there's anything else I forgot, you can also leave that in the comments as well. It's like freaking 11:30, so I do what I can to recall, but this is, you know, at this rate, if I keep going, it's just gonna be me gushing and geeking about how pretty this horrendous show is, but I love it. I love it. It's good to have Mads Mikkelsen back. There's just nobody who, you know, nobody gives off the aura quite like he does. And we'll see how the game plays out. So, you guys take care, recover, breathe deep, watch something fun and happy, and I'll be back before you know it. Take care, you guys.